Daddy, I'm hungry. Oh, really? Let's eat Mom's omelet when we get home. Okay. The trio, clearly a family, wore matching character hats that made it obvious they were returning from a famous theme park. Soon, Kai noticed me and his face turned pale, stopping in his tracks. The woman next to him also caught sight of me and gasped. It seemed she knew that Kai was married with a child. A tense silence fell between us and Kai. After a moment, I spoke up. Look at you, having fun here. Good to see you're happy. Sorry to interrupt. It's not what it looks like. There's a reason for this. My name is Mia, a 34-year-old housewife. I met my husband Kai in college when we happened to sit next to each other in the library. He had a calm demeanor and started talking to me when he picked up a book I dropped. Initially, we were just library buddies, but gradually we began working on assignments together and having tea at cafes, deepening our friendship. After graduation, we went our separate ways. However, 3 years later, we reconnected at a mutual friend's wedding and began to communicate frequently, which led to dating and eventually marriage. Kai was gentle and always surrounded by friends since college. He had a charm that attracted people, and he was special to me. So, when our relationship deepened after reuniting, I was truly happy. It felt like a miracle that we ended up married. I thought we would definitely have a happy marriage. However, it didn't turn out as I had imagined. After losing his father as an adult, Kai was concerned about his mother and lived at home even after getting a job. Even after we started living in the apartment I bought when I was single, he frequently visited his mother to shop and take care of her. Eventually, I began to feel uneasy about his actions. A while after we got married, I boldly asked Kai one day, "Kai, are you thinking about living with your mother-in-law eventually?" He smiled and waved his hand. "No way, not at all. She wants to live freely, I think," he reassured me, and I felt relieved. But I was shocked by what he said next. "I've given her a key to this house." What? My husband had given his mother a spare key without asking me. "She said she wants to come over whenever she likes," Kai said with a laugh, making me want to pull my hair out. "Why would you do that without asking? Is that a problem? It's my place, after all. It should be fine, right?" Kai pouted, looking displeased. "It's in my name. I bought it with my grandma's inheritance." "Well, either way, it doesn't really matter," Kai muttered, clearly annoyed. "This is bad. I can't exactly ask for the key back now. And I can easily imagine how things might unfold from here." Sure enough, my mother-in-law started making unannounced visits. After returning to his office job, Kai often worked late, typically getting home after me. I work full-time too, but I make sure I don't have to stay late. So I get home in the late afternoon. Anticipating this, my mother-in-law would casually drop by around the time I get back. When I arrive home exhausted and see her car in the driveway, it just adds to my fatigue. "Welcome home, Mia. Tough day?" "Good evening, mother-in-law." As she sits on the living room sofa, making herself comfortable as if it's the most natural thing in the world, I respond with a forced smile. "Dinner's ready. We'll eat when Kai gets back." "Wait, I made chicken curry and salad." I start to ask, but she interrupts with a smile still on her face. "Oh, I threw that out. It looked cold and unappetizing." "What?" I rush to check the trash can and find the dinner I got up at 4:30 a.m. to make, all discarded. "Not again," I sigh resignedly. After all, it's cruel to make Kai eat something that's been sitting out for hours. Freshly cooked meals are always best," she says with a grin. I manage to keep my anger in check and address her. "Mother-in-law, I've mentioned this before. If you're planning to come, please let me know by the day before. It's a waste of time and food otherwise, and I'd really prefer you didn't do this." "That's impossible. I just get the urge to see Kai's face all of a sudden," she says, shrugging. "Besides, Kai loves my cooking, and it makes for a nice surprise." Faced with such brazenness, I lose the will to argue further. Of course, Kai has no idea his meals are being thrown out. When Kai comes home, my mother-in-law quickly sets the table, watching intently as he takes his first bites. How is it? The gratin's tasty, isn't it? You could eat loads of the marinated salmon and the borscht, right? Feel free to have as much as you like, she says, glancing at me with a triumphant look. She's clearly competing with me. Eating blissfully unaware, Kai frustrates me even more. I've actually confided about this issue to my sister-in-law before. She's always been kind and considerate since the beginning of my marriage. I'm sorry. Our mother can be really nasty. She's been overly fond of Kai since he was a child. If she ever bothers you, feel free to talk to me anytime. During a drink after the wedding reception, she whispered to me, and it was truly reassuring. So now, I often vent to her during meals together. Luckily, we had a child soon after getting married, so I didn't have to hear any complaints from my mother-in-law about that. But her meddling only got worse. For instance, she'd visit when I was bedridden with morning sickness and scold me, saying, "You're just being lazy." I can't stop the nausea from morning sickness. That's all in your head. I was fine. It's not like you're sick, you're just exaggerating. She'd start, and it didn't stop there. She'd nitpick about the taste of my cooking, how I hung the laundry, constant criticisms. Even if you're not feeling well, you should still manage the household perfectly. You're being supported by Kai, after all. No, I also work full-time, so we share the household chores. Our salaries are nearly the same. I say, trying to keep my composure while feeling nauseous. But my mother-in-law's eyes widen as she retorts. Having a man do housework? What on earth did you get married for? That's just ridiculous. No matter how much I try to explain, we just don't see eye to eye. In the end, I pretend to handle all the chores myself whenever my mother-in-law is around, just to keep the peace. I suspect she does it on purpose, but she continues to cook with strongly scented ingredients and makes fried foods every day. Garlic chicken, spaghetti with loads of garlic in pepperoncino sauce are just a few examples. Unable to stand the lingering smell of oil, I often find myself retching in the bathroom. When I return to the room, my mother-in-law, with tears in her eyes, confronts me. Mia, why do you dislike my cooking? I put my heart into it. Oh. Mia, that's terrible. Do you hate my food that much? It's sad to think you'd vomit from it. Sure, pregnancy can change your tastes, but aren't you overreacting? No, I really can't stand the smell of oil. Even when I explain, Kai joins in blaming me. You can still eat properly, even with morning sickness, can't you? Mom went through the trouble of making it, you should be grateful. I was stunned. He seemed kind, but I realized he lacked empathy. Even after the morning sickness eased, my mother-in-law, claiming to be helping Mia, would come over to cook dinner. She always made too much and pushed it on me. You need to eat well since you have a baby now. No, the doctor advised me not to gain too much weight, and I'm naturally not much of an eater. I'd prefer to avoid greasy food. When I gently decline, my mother-in-law dramatically laments. Oh, that's terrible. I'm just trying to look out for your health. Eating fried food every day shouldn't be a problem. Kai naturally takes her side. Mom's just worried about Mia in her own way. Why can't you see that? She's my mother, so please treat her with a bit more respect. Feeling unheard, I asked the doctor to write a note. Once she saw it, my mother-in-law finally stopped her food assaults. After all the trouble, the baby was born safely. Despite telling him not to, Kai broke his promise and let his mother rush to the hospital right after the birth. My parents had flown in too, but as usual, my mother-in-law belittled me. Oh dear, such a plain and ugly baby, not cute at all. She said dismissively, with Kai just laughing in response. My parents were shocked. Once Kai escorted his mother to the door, my mother expressed her concerns. That mother-in-law of yours is pretty blunt, isn't she? Mia, are you okay? Yeah, well. My sister-in-law is nice, and she's been a great support. I respond with a forced smile. Don't push yourself too hard. Yeah, thanks. I feel miserable thinking about the worry I'm causing my parents, who live far away. It's often said that grandparents become more interfering when a grandchild is born, but in our case, it was the opposite. My mother-in-law gradually started to distance herself. As he grew, my son Sebastian, who I named, began to look a lot like me. My mother-in-law didn't like that and wouldn't interact with him, constantly complaining. That boy's hairstyle is terrible. He's too pale, looks sickly. And he doesn't look like Kai at all. Are you sure he's really his child? Mom, that's enough! Even Kai would scold her, but it seems she had no intention of changing her attitude. Since then, even when we visited Kai's parents with Sebastian, my mother-in-law would only fuss over Kai and completely ignore Sebastian. If Sebastian approached her, she would look annoyed and seemed anything but happy when he called her grandma. Hey Kai, why doesn't your mom dote on Sebastian? He's her grandchild, after all, I said. Kai replied as if it were obvious, because he's not her daughter's child but her daughter-in-law's. That's just how it is. I understand the reasoning, but I can't help but wish she would at least pretend to dote on Sebastian. Kai doesn't try to one-up me about our incomes and mostly shares the housework. If it weren't for his mother, we could have gotten along just fine. When Sebastian turned 3, Kai got transferred to another region. I considered moving with him, but it was difficult to find a full-time job in a new place with a young child. And there were no openings at Kai's new workplace. When we mentioned this during a visit to his parents' house, his mother suggested Kai go alone. You'll be back in 5 years, right? Then Kai can just go, she said, and I was taken aback. I had expected her to insist that I accompany my husband, so it was a surprise. Mia, you have your career, and it would be a shame to waste that. Yes, that's true. But Kai isn't good at cooking, you know. Don't worry, Mia. There's a supermarket and a convenience store close by, and he can get by with meals from the company cafeteria, Kai said with a smile. Ultimately, we settled on him going alone. Kai made an effort to spend time with Sebastian, taking him to the park and reading him bedtime stories when he came home. I tried to maintain our family time by visiting Kai with Sebastian on weekends and cooking for them. But about 6 months later, Kai's demeanor suddenly became distant. He would not put his phone down when home, and ignored Sebastian even when he tried to talk to him. Seeing Sebastian look so lonely pained me. After putting him to bed, I confronted Kai, and for once, he snapped back. Let me relax when I come home. If you're going to complain, I might as well not come back. That angered me. Sebastian was really looking forward to playing with you. I pleaded for our son's sake, but Kai just clicked his tongue and looked annoyed. Yeah, I'll play with him next time I'm back. Happy? His dismissive response irked me, but I swallowed my anger, fearing he might actually stop coming home. This went on for over a year, and both Sebastian and I began to feel disappointed in Kai. Then, one day, I received a message from him. Sorry, I can't make it tomorrow. Tomorrow was Sebastian's 4th birthday, and we had planned to go to the zoo as a family. What happened? I asked, and he replied. Got called into work unexpectedly, won't be back till the evening. I understand, if it's work, there's nothing you can do. Let's celebrate another time, I replied via the messaging app. On the way back from picking up Sebastian from daycare, when I told him, he looked like he was about to cry and said, I just wanted to see Dad for a minute. How about this? Even if we can't play, let's go see Dad? I suggested, and Sebastian's face lit up. Really? Yes, but we'll just talk for a little and then head back. Yay! His excitement made me smile. Right. Even the lately distant Kai would surely smile if he saw Sebastian waiting for him when he came home tired. Containing my excitement, I took Sebastian on the train to the station. We arrived at the station and headed to the apartment Kai had rented. As the evening fell and we waited in the park in front of the apartment, I heard Kai's voice from around the corner. "Sebastian, Dad's here." I stepped onto the sidewalk and froze. Kai was holding a toddler about 2 years old. Next to him was a woman who appeared to be the mother. "Daddy, I'm hungry." "Oh, really? Let's eat Mom's omelet when we get home." "Okay." The trio, clearly a family, wore matching character hats from a famous theme park visit. Kai noticed me and turned pale, stopping in his tracks. The woman next to him also saw me and gasped. It seemed she knew Kai was originally a married man. A heavy silence hung between us. And I broke it. "So, you've been having fun here. Glad to see you're happy. Sorry for interrupting." "No, there's a deeper reason," Kai stammered. "What's the difference?" "You guys go on ahead," Kai told his mistress and the child, letting them into the apartment. "And? What's the reason?" "I didn't hear about you starting another family here," I said, and my husband awkwardly replied. "My mother introduced her to me." "What?" "She thought Sophia suited me better than Mia. I couldn't refuse, and she's been supporting my life here." "So, you skipped Sebastian's birthday celebration to hang out with your mistress and her child? Don't joke with me." It's Sebastian's birthday today?" Kai tilted his head, and I was completely irritated. And I realized that talking to him wouldn't solve anything. "Let's go, Sebastian." I took his hand and we headed back to the station, furious. It was unforgivable that he had an affair and even fathered a child secretly, but missing a promise to meet his own son on his birthday to go out with his lover was unthinkable. "That's it. I'll raise Sebastian on my own," I muttered to myself. "I won't let this go just like that. I will make sure my mother-in-law and Kai paid dearly for this." "Mom, who was the kid Daddy was holding?" Sebastian asked. I couldn't answer him honestly and just gave a vague smile. "Maybe a friend's child? But that kid called him Daddy. It's weird because he's my dad," Sebastian said, tilting his head in confusion. Holding back tears was all I could manage. How hurt he would be if he knew the truth. At the station, I bought a sandwich and 2 teas, and we boarded the train. I planned to eat Sebastian's leftovers, but I had no appetite, so I threw the rest away with the water bottles. Back home, after putting Sebastian to bed and going to the living room, my pent-up emotions gave way and I burst into tears. Trying not to wake Sebastian, I closed the door to the room and sobbed uncontrollably. I had heard stories about husbands cheating during business trips, but I never thought it would happen to us. Moreover, the reason being that his mother introduced him to the other woman made no sense. Unable to sleep, by morning I had signed the divorce papers and submitted them to the city hall. In fact, my mother-in-law had once given me a divorce form. "You're such a lazy person, you should always be ready to divorce. Kai's signature is already on it. You should have that much sense of crisis," she said, thrusting the divorce form with Kai's signature at me. When I confronted Kai about why he signed it, he said it was also at his mother's suggestion. I remembered then that he was always under his mother's thumb. Essentially, he was that kind of person from the beginning. After filing for divorce, I decided to hire a lawyer to formally demand alimony and child support. I wrote that note and sent it to Kai. Once the application was processed, I took leave the next day and got quotes for moving. After dropping Sebastian off at daycare, I packed our belongings into boxes and moved to a furnished apartment I had prepared. Kai sent me numerous messages, but I ignored all of them. They were just a litany of excuses, and he didn't intend to apologize in person. His calls were persistent too, but the voicemail recordings were just more excuses. "I was lonely living alone. You know how troublesome it is to refuse Mom's requests. But I never intended to have a child." Half a year after ignoring Kai's messages, Sebastian and I were playing with toy cars when the doorbell rang. Checking the intercom, I saw a teary Kai standing there. Recently, I had told my sister-in-law about everything that had happened, and she had informed me last night that she had given Kai our new address. The Kai on the screen was a mess, tears and snot ruining his face. His once handsome face was now disheveled, and when he entered the room, he clung to me, crying and pleading. "Please, pay the mortgage. If it stays like this, I'll have nowhere to live when I return to the headquarters," Kai said. I dismissed him lightly and brushed off his hand. "That has nothing to do with me." Then Kai looked at me sternly and raised his voice. "Don't talk like it's someone else's problem. The mortgage reminders came. They said they'd make me pay the rest all at once if I don't pay. Suddenly, that's impossible," he continued, kneeling and wiping his tears. "I was planning to bring Mom here eventually, but now all plans are ruined." "Oh, but you said we wouldn't live together." I said it sarcastically and shrugged. "Not so urgent, right? There must have been several reminders before. You just ignored them, thinking I would pay, right? If so, it's your own fault." I spoke coldly, and Kai showed his anger. "Suddenly, the mortgage was in my name. There's no way I can pay $4,000 a month with my salary. Threatening to seize and auction it off is ridiculous. That's the natural consequence," I explained dispassionately. I could have kicked Kai out of the house, but I didn't want to because his mother had a spare key. "If you want to keep living in that house, either pay the mortgage or move to another apartment if it's too much." "No, that's not possible. You promised I could live in a luxury apartment when I returned to the headquarters. I can't afford that kind of place on my salary," Kai muttered, revealing his cowardly, easily influenced, and pretentious nature. "Please, Mia. Keep paying the mortgage as you have been," Kai begged. "You have the inheritance from your grandmother, right? You can easily pay off the apartment mortgage. Help me out. We're married, after all." "Don't joke," I shouted in a burst of anger. Glaring at Kai, I continued. "You cheat, even have a child, and now you want to live with your mistress while I pay the mortgage? How selfish can you be?" "But I just listened to my mom. The child was an accident. What can I do?" Kai said with a ridiculous expression, scratching the back of his head. "That defiant attitude is why my mother dislikes you. Do you get that?" "Enough, just go back," I said sharply, pushing him towards the door and closing it after him. "Fine, I got it. I'll tell Sophia the truth and just sell that apartment then, Mia, you miser. Money grubber," Kai grumbled as he left. The following weekend, I invited Kai, his mother, and Sophia to the apartment. Because I had something important to discuss. When his mother and Sophia arrived, they looked around the room as if appraising it, and eventually started insulting it. "What a shabby apartment. It suits you, so unfashionable." "Don't say what you're thinking out loud, Sophia." "Well, it's true though," they laughed together. Before them, I intentionally asked Kai. "By the way, it's good we sold the apartment we lived in, isn't it? Paying a $4,000 mortgage was tough. I was even thinking of buying it back if things got worse." At those words, both his mother and Sophia looked shocked. "Oh, so you were hiding that?" "Wait, wasn't Kai paying it?" "No, well, Mia has that inheritance." "Yeah, that's right. She married you for the inheritance, after all." They scoffed. "Hey, did you know? The only reason you got married is because of your inheritance. Don't flatter yourself thinking it was for your charm," Sophia revealed. I turned my gaze from Sophia to Kai, who was avoiding eye contact. It didn't hurt me anymore. Kai's worth had just plummeted further. "So, why did you call us here?" "Sophia and Kai are busy, unlike you, who has nothing better to do." "You should know why, Kai. You've received the notice for the payment of alimony and child support, haven't you?" Kai grimaced. "That issue, it's been 6 months since the divorce." He dodged the answer, and every attempt to arrange a discussion was avoided. "I'm about to sue you in civil court," I said sharply, but Kai just laughed it off. "I'm adjusting the amounts with my lawyer right now, just wait a little longer." "Is that all you wanted?" No, let's get to the main point, I said, fixing my gaze on his mother who yawned boredly. Kai, I heard from your mother that you met Sophia through her. Is that true? His mother raised her chin haughtily and answered reluctantly. Yes, it's true. Why? Because I dislike you. She distorted her face as she spat out the words. As expected as her response was, it still pained me to hear such direct words. She continued her tirade without care for my feelings. The grandchild looks just like you, ugly, and doesn't warm up to me at all. Ignores me when I talk to him. Well, if you shoo him away like a stray dog, of course, he won't warm up to you. I retorted, ignoring her and smiling at Sophia. Kai got along well with this lady while he was stationed alone. She's more suitable for Kai, she said, while Kai gave an embarrassed smile but quickly withdrew it when our eyes met. I took a deep breath and said with irritation, It's bad enough to have a relationship with her, but as a parent, encouraging your son to cheat is absurd. If you didn't like your daughter-in-law, normally you'd think of another way. Is there a problem with that? She retorted. But you kept stalling the divorce because Sebastian is young. What a hopeless child, she lamented. Sophia then smugly added her opinion. Really, it's strange to send your husband alone on a job assignment. You should have moved with him. Yeah, that's right, Kai chimed in, leaning forward. It's all because Mia didn't follow me. A wife should quit her job and follow her husband. Men are delicate. If left alone, they are bound to cheat. I was speechless. Kai held such outdated views. Actually, it was your mother who stopped me. She said it would be a waste to lose my career now. Well, a normal wife would follow. Of course I would have. Sophia sneered with a vulgar laugh. So basically, my meeting with Kai was fate. I thought your last husband was supposed to be that, I said, showing her a photo which wiped the smile off Sophia's face. You two seem close. You were meeting him while having an affair with Kai, weren't you? As I confronted them, Kai and his mother showed their agitation. Sophia, you lied. They peeked at the photo, and their faces turned pale. Indeed, the photo showed Sophia cozily close to a man, entering a hotel. Sophia, flustered, spoke rapidly. This was just. I felt unwell while shopping with an acquaintance, and we rested at the hotel for a bit. Really? There's no proof we had a physical relationship, right? Indeed, there is no proof, but Sophia's frantic excuses in a strained voice seemed like an admission of guilt. Is that child definitely Kai's? Did you do a DNA test? I asked, causing Sophia to flinch. There's no need for that. It's obviously Kai's child, Sophia asserted. Amid this, Kai suddenly remembered something. When we did the blood type test, it came out as type A. That's impossible from us, but the nurse reassured us it could change later. But, Kai said, as Sophia trembled, maybe we should do a DNA test. Sophia paused abruptly, then turned to me and shouted, Why do you even have such a photo? It's not right. You must have fabricated it. It's real. I got it through a detective I hired, I replied just as the room door opened and Kai's sister appeared. Caught off guard, Kai and his mother gaped at her. Hey, sis! Why are you here? I heard everyone would be here today. After putting Sebastian to bed, I was listening from the next room. Kai's sister glanced briefly at them, then turned to Sophia with a smile. It's been a while since you wrecked my engagement by getting involved with my fiancé. No way. You're Kai's sister? Sophia looked defiantly at Kai's sister, who stood imposingly. He dumped both of us and ran off, right? That story is over. Yes, but the cleanup isn't done yet, said Kai's sister with an air of authority. You always want what belongs to others. How shallow. She crossed her arms and then turned her gaze to Kai and his mother. Mom, Kai, it's pathetic to be swayed by such a woman. You should appreciate me more. As she spoke with a tone of disappointment, Kai looked down uncomfortably, but his mother puffed up her cheeks and retorted. Sophia is more suitable for Kai. She's younger, prettier, and more gentle. Suddenly realizing something, his mother gasped. If that child isn't my grandchild, I've been giving money to someone else's kid? Mom, you've been giving her money? Kai and his sister confronted their mother. How much did you spend? Well, his mother admitted in a barely audible voice. About $40,000. $40,000? Kai and his sister recoiled in shock. Come on, you're joking, right? Then, as if struck by a thought, Kai checked his phone and groaned. Mom, did you use my card without asking? Well, I'm on a pension. I don't have that kind of money. His mother brazenly defended her actions. It's your child, so I thought it didn't matter. Why didn't you discuss it with me first? Sophia told me to keep it a secret from you. Kai heard, dejectedly looking down at his phone in his hand. Kai's sister, looking frustrated, swept back her long hair as she noticed that Sophia had quietly slipped out of the room towards the entrance. Kai's sister called out to her from behind. I won't let you escape this time. In addition to this mess, you'll be paying my share of the damages too. I'm getting a lawyer, she called after Sophia, who fled without responding. Kai and his mother also tried to follow, but Kai's sister grabbed them by the collar, dragging them back into the room where she lectured them for hours. Later, DNA tests confirmed that the child was not Kai's. Furious, his mother had squandered Kai's salary, and his debts had piled up, worsening their financial situation. Most of Kai's salary was now going towards paying off his mother's debts. He later came to me, begging. Can you let go of the alimony and child support? I'm working full-time, I can manage without it. Besides, if there's any inheritance left, could you share a little? We're ex-spouses, after all, help me out in tough times. I hung up without listening to the end of his call during my work break. Who does he think he is? I was disgusted by his audacious request and sent a letter through my lawyer threatening to garnish his wages if he continued to fuss. Finally, alimony and child support were deposited into my account. Kai and his mother, who had been quite dependent, distanced themselves due to her extravagant spending. When she chased Kai to his apartment on his solo assignment and caused a commotion that involved the police. Their relationship was irreparable. Sophia agreed to pay damages readily. She had to borrow from various sources to make the payments as her savings were insufficient. She was burdened with a huge debt, including compensation to Kai's sister, and was working day and night after leaving her young child with her parents. She had been living freely, attached to men for years, so the repercussions were significant. Now free from being manipulated by his mother or irritated by Kai's actions, I felt refreshed daily. Since we had separated during his solo assignment, Sebastian didn't fully understand the divorce. I had only told him that we would no longer live with his father and probably never see his grandmother again. I plan to explain properly once he starts elementary school. Thankfully, he doesn't seem to miss them much and is living energetically, which is a relief. As a single mother, I intend to give my son all the love I can, believing that even without his father, he will grow up well. My name is Hannah. I've been married for 2 years, but we haven't had any babies. My husband, a surgeon at a general hospital, consoled me, suggesting it might be a matter of timing or stress. I thought I was incredibly lucky to have such a kind man as my husband. However, I was abruptly disabused of this notion. Shockingly, I discovered that my husband was having an affair with my sister, Anna. Anna is pregnant, so we need to break up. Anna? My sister? Yeah, he said casually, without any sign of remorse, and without a word of apology to me. Why? Because you can't have kids. A woman who can't have children is defective. But I thought it was about timing. Anna got pregnant right away. That means you and I are not compatible. There's no point in trying with a woman who's not compatible. Without room for argument, he had me agree divorce. 3 years later, here I am, unexpectedly facing my ex-husband Sam at a spa resort. It's not like I wanted to meet him. But as if by a twist of fate, Sam showed up with Anna. Hey, long time no see. I was visibly nervous and sweating. I hadn't seen Sam or Anna since then. I had been careful to visit my parents only when I knew my sister and her husband weren't there. Despite my efforts to keep my distance, here they were. So, you're here too? Funny how you run into people you don't want to see. I stayed silent. Though I had so much I wanted to say. I never forgot the betrayal. But when it came down to it, I couldn't find the words. Aren't you still unmarried? I heard from Mom. Still hung up on Sam? That's creepy. Pining over someone else's husband. Yeah, it's really creepy to be obsessed with someone for so long. Sam joined in, laughing. Anna's belly was noticeably pregnant. Baby? Yeah, I'm pregnant. Something you'll never experience. What about the baby you mentioned before? That one, unfortunately, miscarried. Would have been beautiful, too, like us. Definitely, if it looked like me or Anna. If it were your child, as long as it didn't look like Sam, it would definitely be ugly. Her face is a created beauty. It was altered by numerous cosmetic surgeries since high school, and was artificially beautiful. I can't tell you how many times she's done this before, and the face looks like a different person, and it certainly has changed beautifully. Sam, also handsome, confidently asserted that their child would undoubtedly be beautiful. Divorcing you was definitely the right decision. A beautiful child, a doctor husband. I got everything I wanted. But isn't a doctor's salary not that high? The doctors I know earn quite a lot. Shut up! I can't help it. I'm an employee at a general hospital, and it's a salaried position. Still better than factory work. Soon he'll start his own practice and make a lot more. Don't come asking us for help then. I wondered why they brought up factory work, because I'm a factory office worker. Even when we were married, Sam often belittled my job. Now, knowing the reality, I started to doubt whether Sam was really a doctor. You'll never remarry a doctor, or anyone, for that matter. Ugly as you are. Rather than marrying a doctor, I'm pretty sure she won't be able to remarry at all. Oh, that's right. No matter how much you want to get rich, it means you can't do it. Right. As ugly as you are, you're unlikely to remarry. I have a child and a doctor husband. I'm so happy. Funny how life turns out so differently for sisters. Is that so? You think you'll be happy? Traveling alone to a resort. Not even with a man. Well, it can't be helped. You're only good for a fling. Don't go hanging yourself. Having such an ugly sister is the worst. I'd be lucky if you just went to the other world. Are you serious? Of course. Better off without a sister who's hung up on someone else's husband. You're the worst. You're the worst. I'm also relieved to have broken up with an ugly person like you, but now that you've become my sister-in-law, I'm wondering why I can't cut ties with you. They kept mocking my appearance, laughing heartily. Then, a tall man stood beside me. What's going on? Hey. What's this? She's really with some random guy? Even if you're desperate, picking a guy like this old man, you could have chosen better, Hannah. Just because he looks rich doesn't mean you should give in so easily. And you, how can you even play around with such an ugly girl? Who are these people? This is my ex-husband and now brother-in-law, Sam. And that's my sister, Anna. What? Introducing your fling to us? You're probably just playing with this guy, too. It doesn't matter who we are to him. I'm her fiancé, Jason Smith. What? Fiancé? No way, with this old man? Even if you're desperate, marrying this old guy? He's probably just pretending to be rich, a low-income guy. Sam and Anna ridiculed my fiancé, Jason Smith, calling him an old man. But he's only 40 years old. Anna, do you really think you can marry someone like this? You must have settled because no one else would have you. So these are the two who betrayed someone as beautiful as you. Foolish. Who are you calling foolish? Are you blind? Do you even know who I am? Huh? Huh? What do you mean who you are? You're more foolish for being with someone ugly like Hannah. You're a doctor, right? Yes, I am. I work at a general hospital. That would be Smith General Hospital, right? Exactly. What department? I'm a surgeon. Lots of patients want me to operate on them. It was hard even to get today off. Impressive. Your name is Sam, right? Yes, that's right. What about it? Well, it's just that there's no Dr. Sam in the surgery department at our hospital. We do have a male nurse named Sam, though. What? Who do you think you are? Actually, my fiancé, Jason Smith, is the director of the hospital where Sam works. If Sam were truly a doctor at that hospital, he would know Jason by name. However, Sam didn't recognize the name and didn't seem to understand from his behavior. You wouldn't understand, would you? Just a lowly factory worker. How would you know the doctors at Smith General Hospital? Or have you been admitted to surgery before? Admitted? It's troubling that you don't recognize my name. We might have to rethink having staff like you. Wait a minute. How dare this lowly factory worker speak to a doctor like Sam? Stop insulting my husband. I'm not trying to insult him. I'm just stating what I think. Anna, you've been acting all high and mighty, but you're just a fool for wanting to marry someone like Hannah. How can you be with such an ugly girl? You should be with someone as beautiful as me. You'll regret it. Don't be ridiculous. A low-income old man like you could never get a beauty like her. I see. But your husband chose to marry her, didn't he? Why did he choose Hannah? That's obvious. It was just a fling. But he realized I was better. I see. So he prefers someone whose face and heart are both ugly. What did you say? Oops, I just spoke my mind. My apologies. He laughed, covering his mouth with his fist, but Anna and Sam were furious. Don't joke. Are you mocking my wife? You've been mocking my girlfriend nonstop. If you say something, expect a response. What a guy. Well, if you make fun of me for wanting to marry Hannah, you're making fun of your own husband. Do you realize that? That's why I'm telling you. Choosing such a woman was a matter of youthful inclination. Sam is smart enough to become a doctor, so he immediately realized it was a mistake. I see. That's a great excuse. Really? You're seriously marrying this man, Hannah? Yes, he's a wonderful man. You must be as stupid as you look. What's good about a man who insults others? No money and a bad personality. Don't get too cocky. If Hannah marries me, we'll be your brother-in-law and sister-in-law. It'll make things awkward for you. True. But I don't mind. What? Anna, unable to control her anger, continued to insult him. It was sounding like a child scolding an adult. But I decided to change the topic to the upcoming baby. Anna is having a baby. Congratulations. Hope the baby grows up well. Yes, really. What about the first child? She miscarried. That's sad. A lost life is always tragic. It must have been hard for Anna. What? No, it wasn't. Huh? It was a weak life to begin with. No point in mourning something that wasn't meant to be. The future's what matters. I see, a unique perspective. Oh no! I can have as many children as I want, unlike you, Hannah. Losing one or two doesn't bother me at all. You're taking life lightly. Even if you marry this guy, Hannah, you can't expect to have children. No matter how much you want them, you can't have them. That must be it. That's just speculation. At your age, you probably have issues too. Good thing, you won't be the only one blamed. Children aren't the only bond in a marriage. That's easy to say now. Once you're married, you'll want kids. Look at me, I'm pregnant again. Can't wait to see what kind of child I'll have. Yeah, I wonder what kind of child it will be. With all that surgery, the baby won't look like you, Anna. What? What are you talking about? Of course, the baby will look like me. Even if not, if it looks like Sam, it'll definitely be good-looking. I doubt that. With all that surgery, neither of you will have a good-looking child. How dare you? I haven't had any surgery. What makes you think that? You're not even a doctor. No, Anna, you've had surgery. Your eyes, nose, and even your mouth are smaller. You've changed your jawline a lot too. Why change so much that you lose your original face? Anna, you've had surgery? No. I haven't had any surgery. I married you because you were beautiful. If you've had surgery, does that mean our child will be ugly? I haven't had any surgery. Why believe this guy? He's not a doctor. You're not lying to me, are you? Of course not. Anna was frantic, desperately denying it. But what was she planning to do? If this is a lie, I won't forgive you. Don't worry. I haven't had any surgery. If the child turns out ugly, it's because it looks like Hannah. Oh. Right. That's right. It doesn't have to look like just us. Anna pointed at me, and Sam seemed convinced. I thought it was foolish, but they were both so obsessed with beauty. Jason's bombshell didn't stop there. Sam, you've had quite a bit of surgery yourself. What? Yep, you've had as much surgery as Anna. Impressive. What are you talking about? Where have I had surgery? Well, your eyes, nose, and you've sharpened your jawline. You've changed so much you can't recognize your original form. That's impossible. I was shocked. I had never heard that Sam had surgery. Sam, you've had surgery? What did you look like before? That's not true. I haven't had any surgery. Why believe this guy? He's not a doctor. But... Anna stopped, apparently thinking that if Jason had guessed her surgery correctly, he must be right about Sam too. No matter how much you change your face, you can't change your personality. People who focus only on looks end up losing what's truly important. That's why they let go of someone as cute as Hannah. But for those who don't understand true beauty, they're a perfect match. Don't act like you know everything. How could you possibly know we've had surgery? You're just guessing. That's right. You can't know. Unless you're a plastic surgeon, you can't tell. That's correct. A non-doctor wouldn't know. But you can't fool my eyes. What? How can you say you can't be fooled? You must be very confident. Or are you saying you're a doctor? Exactly. I am a doctor, a plastic surgery specialist. What? If I'm a plastic surgeon, I can tell by looking at your faces that you've had surgery. No way! You're kidding! Are you two doing maintenance? It's starting to fall apart. That's concerning. Lies! Well, maintenance costs money. For both of you, it must be tough. You said you hadn't had surgery. You've been deceiving me? Can't wait to see the child. If it looks like Anna, it'll be as cute as Hannah. But if it looks like Sam, I wonder. That's why I chose someone beautiful. You two had surgery. That's the same for me. I wanted a beautiful child. As you are now, your faces will keep deteriorating. Maintenance is necessary, but at Smith General Hospital's plastic surgery department, we do maintenance. I can do it for you, but I won't give you a family discount. We don't want anything to do with you. I never wanted you as a brother-in-law. That's right. Just because we're married, I don't consider you a brother-in-law. That's right. Then there's no need for me to hold back. Good, you're fired. What? What are you talking about? How can you say that? Are you crazy? I'll admit you're a doctor, but you don't have the right to fire me. Really? Even if I'm Jason Smith, the director of Smith General Hospital, you think I don't have that right? What? Surprised, huh? I mentioned my name earlier. Name? I'm sure, Jason Smith. Jason Smith, that's right. Jason Smith is. Can't believe you don't know the name of the director of the hospital where you work. Are you that foolish? Nurse Sam. Huh? What? What? Nurse? You're a nurse? No. You're not a surgeon, but an internist, right? I've heard about you. A heartless nurse. That's certainly true. Your attitude towards patients is terrible. This conversation made it all clear. So that's why your salary was so low. Salary? Yes, for a doctor, you made surprisingly little. You used to say it's still better than factory work. Sure, that's true. Better than working in a factory, especially since you don't do night or late shifts. But it's true, the salary is much lower than a doctor's. That's why you earn so little? You always told me you were a doctor. Just a hired worker, so it's natural to earn that much. You said that. Lies about surgery and being a doctor. Now everything falls apart. What could I do? You said you wouldn't marry me if I wasn't a doctor. I had no choice but to pretend. Are you blaming me? Yes, because you're always showing off. You're the one showing off. Thanks to you, Hannah, with that face, is marrying a doctor? And I'm becoming poorer than her. Amazing how twisted your personality is. I kept quiet thinking we'd become in-laws, but now I don't want to be related. Hannah, I'm sorry, but I can't associate with these people after we're married. Is that okay? Of course. I don't want anything to do with them either. Great. So, I have no hesitation in firing you. Please, director. Don't fire me. Why now? You've been mocking my partner. It's only natural to be fired. I tolerated you because I thought you were her relative. But now, you've said you don't want any relationship. I didn't know you were the director. I told you from the start. Didn't you understand who I am? I never imagined the director. How could you work without knowing that? But firing me, that's harsh. Working at a general hospital is a big deal. Yes. Please, at least let me stay working there. What do you mean? Being a doctor at a general hospital is highly regarded by other moms. How foolish. It's the same wherever you work. Even if it's factory work, you're contributing to society. That's not true. Factory work won't get me praise from others. What will I do when my child is born? Being a doctor matters among other moms. That's worthless. Better fix your personality and face first. That is if you have the money. Money. Yes. Money. I need money. You're always about money. She's not poor, you know. That's because she's marrying the director of Smith General Hospital. She's not poor. No. It's not about money. It's about her heart. She cares for others, understands their perspective. That's what brings wealth. That's not true. Ugly people don't attract rich people. That's why you attracted a fake rich man like Sam. But I'm attracted to Hannah's heart. Her heart makes her face shine. I'd spend a fortune on her, but I wouldn't spend a cent on you, Sam. Okay. Please, don't fire me. Hannah, ask him too. If I'm fired, I'll be an unemployed brother-in-law. How embarrassing. No. I don't care about you. You said I'm still hung up on you. That's not true at all. Exactly, Hannah. Well said. Thank you. Lies. That can't be. My face is loved by everyone. Let's go. As Jason led me away, I could hear them arguing. It's all your fault. You tricked me with your lies and surgery. You're ugly. And you're ugly too. I thought how foolish they were and was grateful to have found my true love. Our trip to the spa was blissful, but hell awaited my sister and her husband upon return. The reason was that Sam was indeed fired, just as Jason had stated. Despite Sam's tearful pleas for mercy, Jason had him ousted from the hospital. Angry at Sam for lying about being a doctor and undergoing plastic surgery, Anna, who had become jobless that very day, asked him divorce. She returned to our parents' house, but after being scolded and called foolish by our parents, she stormed out in anger. Anna, choosing the path of a single mother, secretly gave birth. However, after the birth, she needed money desperately. Since the baby was Sam's, she demanded for child support. Despite Sam's initial resistance, Anna led to a promise to pay child support. However, Sam struggled to make payments, leaving him no money for facial maintenance. As his only source of confidence, his face deteriorated. Sam, unable to bear his disfigured appearance, lost the will to work. Reportedly, he now lives in a shabby apartment, surrounded by garbage, hugging his knees. Meanwhile, Anna, unable to afford facial maintenance due to child-rearing, works night shifts in building cleaning, wearing a large mask as she dislikes jobs involving social interactions. On the other hand, I married Jason in a grand wedding, celebrated by the hospital staff, and am now thoroughly enjoying happiness. Adding to my joy, I am currently 7 months pregnant, eagerly awaiting the arrival of our baby, living a fulfilling life. Thank you always. This is about Emily, who receives a homemade lunchbox and briskly heads to work. I noticed she forgot something and hurried after her. In a park, I witnessed a shocking scene. Unforgivable. How could they deceive us like this? I decided to show them. Vowing revenge, I set a plan against her. My name is Barbara Smith. I'm a 50-year-old housewife. I work as a massage therapist, mainly focusing on full-body massages, and run a home salon. Since my first husband passed away early, I've been living alone. Then I remarried my current husband, Robert. He first came as a client and became a regular. Barbara, your massages make my head and shoulders feel incredibly light. I used to suffer from migraines, but they stopped since I started coming here. I'm truly grateful, Robert said with a smile. I remember being very happy to see his smiling face. Once he got hooked, he started visiting at least once a week. However, my salon isn't cheap. Other clients, mostly office workers, come maybe twice a month, at most weekly. But Robert would come 2 or 3 times a week in busy months. He didn't seem to cut corners in his life, showing financial comfort. What does he do for a living? I gradually became interested in his job, which led me to approach him. I learned his true identity about 3 months after we met. Robert revealed that he runs multiple companies and is divorced. Work kept me busy, and I couldn't spend much time with my child in the early years. Now, she works in my company and supports me. A successful businessman, Robert seldom came home. He regretted not being more involved in parenting. I can't forgive her for using our child to marry me for my wealth, he confided, his expression twisted with pain. His ex-wife reportedly used their child to marry Robert for his wealth. She lied about using contraception to force him into marriage. Once married, she left all childcare and housework to nannies and partied every night. Tired of her, he divorced and now lives with his daughter. His daughter's name is Emily. She's 25 and works as an office worker in Robert's company. As Robert and I became closer, I often dined with Emily. Her cheerful and bright personality always comforted me, and she loved the food I cooked. Barbara, your cooking is really delicious. I love it. Over time, Emily started saying such things to me. Encouraged by her words, I started improving my cooking skills. Soon after, my relationship with Robert deepened, and we began discussing marriage. Surprisingly, it was Emily who first brought up the idea of our marriage. Aren't you and Dad gonna get married? I'd be so happy if you became my stepmom. Robert and I hadn't ruled out marriage, but I was worried Emily still had scars from her mom's actions. Knowing their painful past, I couldn't bring myself to propose to Robert. I thought I'd be happy just as we were, without marriage. But then Emily said that. And I was overwhelmed with happiness. I was so moved I cried right there, and Emily, seeing this, gave me a troubled smile and hugged me. What we didn't notice was the sly smile she hid at that moment. With Emily's encouragement, Robert and I decided to get married. After marrying Robert, I realized his work was busier than I thought. He was often away more than half the week. His visits to our home salon were his only time at home. So, I spent most weeks just with Emily. Now that we were a family, I was determined to build a relationship with her, even when Robert wasn't around. But Emily was busy with work and her life, rarely at home. It's kinda lonely. The housemaids lessened the daytime loneliness. But nights were different. They usually left by 5 p.m., leaving me alone in our huge house. Rarely did Emily or Robert join me for dinner. Emily has felt lonely because of me, so I'm happy you, Barbara, came to our home, Robert often said before we got married. He was worried about leaving Emily alone at night. Our condo has a concierge, so safety wasn't a big concern. But still, it's natural to worry about leaving a young woman alone at home. Determined not to let her feel lonely again, I married Robert, but Emily is an adult now. She's successfully navigating life as a working professional. Lost in these thoughts while eating, I heard the front door open. I'm home. When I went to check, I saw Emily, looking exhausted, returning home. Welcome back. You're late. Tough day at work? Your bath is ready. Thanks always. I've been busy with a project. If it goes well, I might get a promotion. Emily, tired, entered the living room and reached for the dinner I prepared. Just a little snack. So delicious. I'm lucky to have such a warm meal when I come home. She praised my cooking. I always wanted to cook, no matter how busy, asking the housemaids to let me do it. It was the only way I could connect with Emily. I'll leave your lunchbox in the kitchen. Today's was great. My colleagues are always envious. Her face always comforted me, making me think she was genuinely happy, unaware of the hidden ugly emotions beneath her smile. The bath's ready. You must be tired, take your time. I spoke gently to Emily, who seemed about to doze off on the sofa after dinner. She sleepily responded and staggered towards the bathroom. Over an hour passed since she started her bath. Worried she might have fallen asleep in the tub, I decided to check on her. Entering the changing room and about to call out to Emily in the bathroom, my eyes landed on her cell phone lying on the washing machine. It was a text. I involuntarily read the message and quickly covered my mouth. Thanks for always coming to see me. Looking forward to the surprise for my birthday next month, Ace Emily. Can't wait. Taking advantage of Emily not replying, I unintentionally read the text aloud and quickly covered my mouth. However, I felt uneasy about what I had just read. It seemed like a thank you text from a boyfriend or someone she's dating. But the way the birthday and surprise were mentioned seemed off. Expecting a surprise, isn't that pressure for a loved one? Ace? And his name is not a normal name. It sounded like a pseudonym used by someone in the night scene. A bad feeling crossed my mind as I wondered what to do. Oops. I fell asleep in the bath. I heard Emily wake up and hurry out of the tub. I quickly turned to the sink, pretending to look for something. Huh? Barbara, what's up? Oh, sorry for disturbing you in the bath. Looks like we're out of hand soap, so I came to get a refill. Although I tried to act calm, my heart was pounding, wondering if Emily noticed I had seen the text. She didn't seem suspicious and just smiled, saying, I see. If that text was indeed from someone in the nightlife business, how was she affording it? Emily works in an administrative role, earning about $3,500 a month. Therefore, it seemed unlikely that she had enough money to frequently visit nightclubs to lavish on men. Yet, the text from that man earlier distinctly mentioned Ace. It seemed unlikely she could afford such expenses on her salary. Around this time, an incident occurred. Robert, who usually couldn't come home often, started returning home 3 times a week. The workload eased a bit, but actually, there's been an embezzlement issue at my company. Shocking, but true. There was an embezzlement scandal at the company where Emily worked. The perpetrator hadn't been identified, but the stolen amount was in the hundreds of thousands of dollars. Rumor had it, someone in accounting was responsible. This news made me more anxious about Emily. Since Robert began coming home more, Emily also spent more time at home. Don't overwork yourself, Dad. The most important thing is that the culprit gets caught. Emily is seen as the top candidate for promotion at the company, Robert had told me. Despite making her feel lonely, she's grown up to be such an accomplished young woman. I'm proud of her as a parent. The thought that such a well-raised daughter could be embezzling company funds and visiting nightclubs, that's unthinkable. There must be some mistake. I'm probably just overthinking it. Yet, the words ace from that man's email linger in my mind and won't go away. With the amount of embezzlement in the hundreds of thousands, it's possible to lavish plenty on a man and indeed become an ace. But would someone really send such a text to a significant other? Should I talk to Robert about this? My mind is a mess, and several days have passed. On my day off, while I was making Emily's lunch, our housemaid, who has been with us for nearly 20 years and is trusted by both Emily and Robert, noticed my worried look and approached me. Ma'am, are you okay? You look pale. I can take over the preparations for today if you need. This woman has been our housemaid for nearly 20 years and is trusted by both Emily and Robert. She's quick-witted, calm, and makes swift judgments, truly a sharp-minded person. She might have some advice for me. After Emily and Robert had left, I approached her to discuss my concerns. She willingly agreed, and after they had gone, we sat in the living room, and I shared the events of the past few days and my thoughts with her. Actually, I too thought Miss Emily's behavior was odd. She started suspecting something was amiss about 6 months ago. Emily dislikes alcohol and smoking, while Robert is fond of both. However, due to Emily's strong aversion, Robert stopped smoking at home and has been living a smoke-free lifestyle at home for about 10 years. But, about 6 months ago, I occasionally started noticing the smell of smoke on Miss Emily's clothes. Of course, there were guesses like work-related socializing or a boyfriend who smokes, so it didn't seem odd at first. But then, one night, after finishing her work, the housemaid was walking through a bar district, having been invited out by a friend. They decided to treat themselves at a slightly expensive sushi restaurant. That's when I saw her. Miss Emily entered the restaurant, closely linked arm-in-arm with a flashy, flamboyant man. The restaurant was high-end, often refusing first-time visitors. Seeing such a couple, who looked like the epitome of a foolish pair, the housemaid was taken aback. The man next to her was dressed in flashy designer clothes, a suit, but didn't seem like someone with an ordinary job. But it's not my place to comment on whom Miss Emily chooses to date. After that, the two disappeared into the bar district. The housemaid and I agreed that the man from the email might have been the same man she saw that night, leading us to decide to discuss it with Robert. That night, Emily had informed us she would be late due to overtime and dinner with friends. Robert had returned home, providing a perfect opportunity to talk. I shared with him about the email, the conversation with the housemaid, and the embezzlement issue. He turned pale and was visibly shaken. No, it can't be. Emily? Yet, he couldn't completely deny it, as there were rumors at her workplace. There's talk among many employees that Emily might be involved romantically with the executive director. Apparently, there were dark rumors surrounding the executive director, who had recently been displaying signs of newfound wealth, raising suspicions among colleagues. He's involved in accounting. It's the perfect position for someone to embezzle, Robert noted. Despite it being about his daughter, Robert was able to consider the situation calmly, which I found remarkable. If I had been hit with such news, it would have taken me a long time to believe it. But Robert was likely using various means to gather evidence to deny it, not wanting to believe it himself. However, it often happens that the more you search for evidence, the more you find confirming your fears. My conversation with him seemed to shift his doubts to conviction. Please don't mention this to Emily. It involves the company too. I'll set up a committee to gather evidence of the executive director's embezzlement and consider involving the police. Understood. I replied, though Robert's face was pale despite his attempt to remain composed. He mentioned that the executive director was nearing retirement age. It's nauseating to imagine our daughter in a relationship with someone much older, practically grandfather-aged. I left the company matters to Robert, but the issue at hand was Emily, who seems to be caught up with a man. However, without resolution in Robert's company affairs, there's little we can do. Even if the executive director gets caught and Emily loses her patron, I worried that she might turn to Robert's bank account next. Actually, afterwards, I stumbled upon her in her room, talking on the phone with someone. It was likely that man she was speaking to. Your birthday, I'll definitely make you number one. Make sure we have an after party. And remember your promise to marry me. Hearing her conversation, I panicked internally, feeling urgent to pull her away from that world. As I pondered what to do, the next morning arrived. Unbeknownst to me, Emily had returned home and casually came to the kitchen. Today's lunch looks delicious. I'm looking forward to lunchtime. Lately, she has been leaving for work 30 minutes earlier than usual. Apparently, because the project she's working on is nearing completion. Don't push yourself too hard, I said, pain in my heart. Despite her seemingly carefree smile, I felt terrible for suspecting such a family-oriented and kind-hearted daughter like her. Thanks as always. I'll be off then, she said, oblivious to my turmoil, and left cheerfully for work with her lunchbox. However, I was startled when I glanced at the living room table. She had forgotten her important employee badge. I must take it to her, I thought, rushing after her. As I approached a park, I saw Emily with a homeless man who was prostrating himself. Emily! What on earth is she doing there? At first glance, one might think a dear daughter is in danger, entangled with a homeless man, but the situation seemed off. The man was tearfully rubbing his head on the ground, reaching out to her as if begging for alms. Emily, on the other hand, was taking out her lunchbox, with a sinister smile, looking down on the man. Not understanding the situation, I decided to watch from the shadows. Please, I'm begging you. Just the usual. You're disgusting, really vile. Go on, say it like you always do. You want a handout, don't you? Merciful Miss Emily, please bestow your charity on this filthy old man. The sight of the man crying, shaking, yet unable to live without begging, pained my heart. But even more astonishing were the words coming from Emily's mouth. I had never heard her speak so arrogantly to me, Robert, or anyone else. It was shocking. The entire scene of her speaking those words and making the man do such things was unbelievable. This is just hilarious. You, existing only as a nuisance, are at least useful for my stress relief. Here's your charity. In the next moment, I couldn't believe what I was seeing because of what she did. Emily opened her lunchbox and started dropping its contents into an old man's hands. It's better to recycle this way than to just throw it away in the trash. You get some charity, and I get to dispose of my garbage effectively. Plus, it's a stress reliever for me. 3 birds with 1 stone. It's environmentally friendly. The words spilling from her mouth were like sharp blades piercing my heart. Thanks for always making delicious lunches. Were all of Emily's kind words just a lie? I love Barbara's cooking the best. Were those words just to play with my feelings? I couldn't believe anything about her anymore, and in an instant, hatred welled up inside me. Listen up, old man. There's this new woman in our house. Well, she's become my mom. Just because I complimented her a bit, she got all excited and started trying hard in cooking. It's so creepy. With her around, Dad's money will decrease, and she's just a nuisance. I wonder if there's a good way to get rid of her. Seeing Emily's creepy smile, a dark emotion was born inside me. Unforgivable. To think of me and Robert like that. To mock people and treat them that way. I couldn't forgive anything about her. At that moment, I decided to show Emily hell and immediately started taking action. A few days later. It's rare for Dad and Barbara to have something to talk to me about. Could it be, are you finally going to tell me I'm getting a brother or sister? She must think we don't know anything. With a nonchalant attitude, Emily spoke those words, and both Robert and I gave her a cold look. Sorry, but it's not such good news. What's wrong, Dad? You look so serious. Is it about the business? From Robert's tone and expression, she must have realized that this was no ordinary situation. Sensing the gravity of the situation, Emily let slip what she thought might be the bad news. Yeah, let's start there. Actually, in these past few days, we caught the vice president embezzling company funds, and the police acted immediately. The vice president, who had been using online banking to access company money, was arrested and sentenced to 6 years in prison. At that time, the vice president mentioned that he was transferring a large sum of money every month to a certain woman as an allowance. The moment she heard this, a look of disturbance appeared on Emily's face. Vice presidents can do terrible things, huh? But the person who received the embezzled money might not have known it was illegal. I heard that if you don't know, you can't be held responsible. Emily was right. If she hadn't known the money was embezzled, she wouldn't be liable for embezzlement. And we had no way to prove that she knew. True. But it was easy to prove where that embezzled money was spent. Hearing this, Emily's demeanor suddenly changed. Her eyes narrowed sharply, seeing us as enemies, and she crossed her arms and legs, creating a dominant atmosphere. We've tracked where the vice president was transferring the money and obtained evidence of where it was spent. It was being sent to your account, Emily. Even hearing this, she showed no sign of disturbance. She quickly denied it with a snort, laughing off Robert's words and speaking dismissively. Stop joking! Sure, I had a close relationship with the vice president. But I didn't know it was company money, and there's no evidence to prove it. We do have evidence. It's on the security cameras of the nightclub you frequent. The moment she heard nightclub, all the color drained from Emily's face. She must have thought it impossible for us to know about that. We got the police involved in the embezzlement case and asked for cooperation from the nightclub you've been frequenting. They were more than willing to help. Thanks to that, we got some solid evidence. And here it is. Robert powered up his laptop and showed a shocking video to Emily. She was speechless at what she saw. Emily, thanks for always being so generous. But you're just an employee, right? Are you sure you can afford to spend so much? I hope I'm not making you stretch your finances. Not at all. For my favorite guy, it's worth it. I just have to sleep with some old guy and earn a little extra cash, so don't worry about it. You're selling your body? Well, it's not just for you. The guy's our company's vice president. He's been dipping into the company's funds. And since it's my dad's company, it's basically an allowance from him, right? No problem there. Flirting with the vice president might even help my career. Killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Or maybe even more. So don't worry, I'm fine. Her confession was undeniable proof that she knew about the embezzlement, implicating Emily as an accomplice. But that was just a joke. And whether that money was actually transferred into my account. Then show us all your bank statements. Though she tried to remain defiant, it was obvious that this would be the response. Anyone could see that. But Emily was visibly shaken. Robert relentlessly cornered her, leaving her on the edge. She was in a situation with no escape. It's simple. If you claim you knew nothing about the embezzlement, just prove it. Show us the bank statements for the account where the vice president supposedly transferred the money. If there's no record of those transactions, you'll be cleared. Seeing Robert's unyielding stance, even towards family, pained me. He values family more than anyone. It must have been incredibly hard for him to say and do these things. Yet, he steeled his heart and confronted Emily. My heart felt like it was tearing apart thinking about his feelings.
Barbara, help me. It's not true. I really didn't know. I had no idea that was the company's money.
Emily, on the verge of tears, ran to my feet and clung to me. She must think I would protect her, persuade Robert, given our past relationship. But I showed her a video saved on my phone.
It's a real nuisance having that woman around. Dad's money will decrease. Is there a good way to get rid of her?
The video showed Emily mocking a homeless man in the park, turning her face pale. Actually, that day, I noticed you left your employee ID behind. I hurried after you to return it and stumbled upon this scene. After you left, I even talked to this man. The man had started encountering troubles about a month ago. He told me about seeing Emily throwing away her lunch in the park and speaking to her. His legs were bad, and after being laid off, he ended up homeless, living in this park. He was about to die of hunger when he first met her and had since been keeping her in good spirits to receive lunches.
I couldn't believe it. My own daughter treating someone so terribly.
Moreover, Emily had been physically abusing the man when in a bad mood.
It's not true. I'm not the bad one. It's Dad's fault for making me feel lonely.
Emily, unaccustomed to being scolded, tried to deflect the blame with unbelievable excuses. My anger reached its peak at her words. Enough is enough. I raised my voice suddenly, startling Emily into staggering backward.
Do you have any idea how much Robert has been thinking about you, how hard he's been working for you? He even asked the housekeepers to make sure you weren't lonely without a mother. He knew you were wasting money but tolerated it, thinking it might ease your loneliness. And all this time, you've just been biting the hand that feeds you. Don't you feel the least bit ashamed?
If she were a little child, maybe her reasoning could be understood. But I couldn't forgive her for using it as a shield and refusing to accept responsibility for her actions.
It's time to stop taking adults for granted. Clean up your own mess. No one else will help you.
Hearing my outburst, she seemed to resign herself to her fate. Emily was then taken away by the police. She was sentenced to 3 years in prison for crimes involving stolen goods and harming a homeless man. She also had a debt of several $100,000 at the nightclub, which she'll likely have to repay after her release. Of course, Robert wouldn't cover her debt, and Emily herself intended to work in the nightlife industry after release to pay it off. But she probably couldn't come to terms with it easily. During a visit, she begged Robert, clinging to him and wanting to return home.
I won't ever do something like this again. Please!
Emily pleaded with us, crying. But Robert, hard-hearted, disowned her. At the same time, he declared that the entire inheritance would go to me. That visit was the last time we saw Emily. Life eventually returned to a peaceful state for Robert and me. The company stabilized, and Robert spent significantly more time at home than before.
When I become chairman and have more leisure time, I'd like to travel together. Come to think of it, we never had a honeymoon, did we? I'd love to spend our later years traveling the world with you. We've been so busy. I want to enjoy our remaining years with the person I cherish most.
Sipping coffee made by our housekeeper in the garden, Robert and I spent our time happily